my Japanese maple is coming back to life because I thought it was totally murdered from the ice storm. And I just noticed it.
Is it flowering?
It's sprouting. Oh. It's sprouting new leaves. And all the trees above my house, I don't know if you saw when you were driving, it's like exploding with green now. It's so pretty.
I love this time of the year.
The green now, it's warming up. The trees are starting to turn green. I was just thinking the other day when I was seeing the trees without the green, I was like, I'm getting kind of depressed with this like spindly dead tree thing. And then 2 days later, the bugs and the green just exploded on the trees. And it's so beautiful now.
And like any flowering tree is really like coming, like
there's purple trees.
I know.
These beautiful sprouts. There's one actually by my driveway that Bodie and I were like, was that there before? Like, how did that happen? I don't remember it being purple.
I know. It's almost like, I don't know if it's just this spring, but just with everything that's happened, like I'm so much more aware of what's happening on trees and like the flowers. Like I'm so appreciative of it. I feel like there was a part of me that was seeking it, and like I planted flowers, and I don't really do that. There's just been it's kind of been a dark time. So yeah, it's amazing when you actually see color out in nature that was unexpected. It's just this reminder that like things are always fluid and changing and growing and rebirthing, right? So yeah, I'm really enjoying spring. Is spring one of your favorite seasons?
Yes, spring always feels like, okay, I'm ready to shed the sweaters and the coats, but I love, well, it's a competition between fall. Well, I'm from LA, so there's really not big seasonal changes. So for me, it was fall is when really you start getting the breezes, and like fall's like really my favorite. Winter is like the same as fall in LA, so it was always just sort of fall, winter. Here it's fall and then winter. Yes. And it's very different. Yes. So fall is, I think, probably my most favorite. And then spring is right there because it is a time of change, and it is a time of... It's amazing how much our bodies are naturally synced up to the seasons, and you find yourself leaning into like this natural kind of harmony with what's going on with the weather. It's wild, actually.
Yeah. I
don't think we realize how connected it all is, you know?
It's almost like this inspiring time of like, you know, I can be reborn again too, and like grow as a person, and I was gonna say like not die, but like, you know, we can kind of be a little bit more dormant and like reserved, and give ourselves time to kind of rest and then renew and come back and, you know, take on things, and I feel like spring gives you more energy.
I find myself always leaning into like self-enhancing chapters of my life right during the April-May zone. I always find myself doing enhancing things. And then come summer is when I put all of that enhancement into action, and it becomes like this energetic thing. And it is, I find I naturally kind of do that.
Wow.
Yeah. I just realized that. I was like, wow, like every spring is when I lean into like, okay, I'm going to now work on this part of myself. I'm going to read a little bit about this and see if I can improve this area of myself. Bodie and I get into conversations that are like about change and things we want to like, you know, whether it's the marital, like, hey, I need to talk to you. I need you to work on this. You know what I mean? Both. Me to him, him to me. And because you have to do that. You can't just, nothing stays the same, right? Like we see, like you just said, with Mother Nature, people don't stay, I mean, you can stay the same, but I think that naturally in this world, everything is in motion, and everything is always in a moment of transition, big or small. And it feels like the same manifests in human beings. If someone is like not working on increasing their awareness, they don't change much. You see those like, oh, you can't change people. Usually it's when you're referring to someone who's not doesn't really work on themselves. And people who do work on themselves, you see them change, and you see it's a dynamic enhancement, right? Or a self-destruction would be the other end of that scale. But it is spring is naturally, I do the clean outs for Goodwill. Spring cleaning, clean out the old.
Yeah, and also just like the longer days,
I love the longer days.
I think growing up in Canada, we get used to in the winter having very short days. Sometimes it would get dark at 3-4 o'clock.
That's depressing.
It is, and you get used to it because you don't know anything else. But then when you experience the flip side, especially with when we came here, and not only is it lighter earlier, even though we changed the time back home, it's just the position of...
It's where you're at on the globe.
Yeah, just being more northern. So here, it's like, you change the clocks, but it's like warmer and nicer earlier. And I feel like I just thrive in that type of environment more so than you think being from Canada. I mean, I love good 4 seasons, which we have back home. It's very, it's similar to like New York, right? Like New York has 4 very distinct seasons.
Yeah.
San Francisco, I honestly feel like I didn't jive with San Francisco because it didn't have that.
Yeah. I feel often uncomfortable in San Francisco. My body can't do that damp, cold thing. My body's like, no. My bones hurt with that damp, cold. It bothers me.
It's like, yes, even though it's a lot warmer here than it is where I grew up, we still have 4 seasons here. We get a cold winter, we get a very hot summer, we get a beautiful spring, and then fall. You just start pulling it, and the leaves fall from the trees, and seeing the leaves change. It kind of tells me like, okay, the seasons are changing. Where am I going to change? Where am I going to place my, where am I going to put my effort into changing, in myself? Yeah, I kind of use it as like a little bit of a North Star, I guess you could say.
Yeah. I hopped back in the pool and started treading water. I was thinking of you. I was like, I gotta text her. Hey, gonna come over and jump in the pool with me? It's so nice to be able to just, I like working out with my trainer, but it's like sometimes I don't know if it's the pandemic or what. It feels really laborious, and I am not motivated. But I will go jump in the pool and tread water to start my day. And that's something I really, really enjoy when the weather warms up, because I use it's just so 360 swimming. But it is like, it makes me more inspired to change things and improve things more than like New Year's Eve or resolutions or whatever. And like the fall is like a time for starting to unwind from the energy of the summer that you're putting into action from the transition of the spring. It's funny.
Well, I think too, a lot of people, it's like they use New Year's, and we've talked about this before, but they use New Year's as that time, like, oh, this is when I'm gonna like make all these resolutions and create all these big plans for myself. But I think because it's not in
it's like cold and snowy or wherever, and you're like,
and it's just out of that like natural progression of what's actually happening in your environment. It's almost like a man-made period of forced change,
right? Whereas
I feel like with the seasons, it's just, as you said, it's like this harmonious, natural thing that's happening, and I feel like we intuitively want to be in line with what's happening in nature, but New Year's, people use it as a time to be like, I'm gonna, I have all these big plans for myself, but for me, it doesn't feel right.
It doesn't spring you into action.
It's just not organic at all.
I know what you mean.
For me, fall is usually my time where I think, because like I always loved back to school so much.
I did too. Oh my God. I love back to school.
I loved buying new pencil crayons, and I loved getting out my new sneakers.
See, that's probably why I love fall so much too, because it is like a newness, right? There's a newness to it because of the school year, I guess. So it feels like a fresh transition.
Yeah.
Those are the two changes.
And the fresh air. And I love sweater weather. I love warm weather, but I love sweater weather.
Sweater weather.
Sweater weather.
Well, those are the 6-month marks, though. Fall and spring are the 6-month marks from each other.
But I would say the conversations that are happening in our house now, it's funny you actually mentioned it because I couldn't place it, but my husband and I are having more conversations now about like changes that might happen or planning or just mixing things up, which I feel like, I mean, we always have great conversations, but I feel like now more so than ever. And it might be because we're in tune with what's happening in our external environment. But I like it. It's like we're never stagnant, you know? And even when you feel like you are kind of stuck and things might not change, it's a reminder that, you know, you can kind of use the tools of the outside world to inspire you and kind of motivate you too, right?
Yeah, I think that's, you know, especially if you work in an office building or you're working from home, you can get into this rut of inness, insideness. And I think to connect to, I love walking barefoot. Like I walk around my house or do yard stuff, or I always am barefoot outside. If my kids go out and play basketball, or I'm barefoot. And there is a legit thing called grounding, right? I don't know enough about it to comment on it other than I do feel better when I'm barefoot and I can connect. I do feel connected to some kind of like the electromagnetic connection to the earth. Isn't that what grounding is?
It's an energetics thing.
Yeah. It feels legitimate to me because I do feel energized by it and I need to be barefoot. Like I need to have plenty of barefoot time outside. And it really does, I feel like it resets my system. But I think, you know, going out and getting the sunshine in your eyes, and if people who can have, you know, you don't have kids where your sleeping schedule and your waking schedule is completely forced on you. But if you can fall asleep to the nighttime and wake up to the sun, even if it's for a week, just to help reset your system, I think that there's health value in that. And the vitamin D, but, you know, going outside, and I had a friend who wasn't getting her period. And the chiropractor told her to go outside without any sunscreen for 15 minutes a day, like in your bathing suit, whatever. And let the sun be on your body, and she started getting her period again. So I really think there's something to the hormones, and the hormones affect your mood, and, you know, being connected to Mother Earth, not in a hippy-dippy, wackadoodle way. I mean, you can be extreme like that if you want, you know, but that's not what I'm saying. But I think there's legit validity to connecting with your environment the way it is.
I agree.
Yeah.
I always feel better if I get some outside time, and I feel like we talked about this before, but just like taking in your external environment without any, like, you're not on your phone, you're present, you're listening to the birds, you know, like I feel very fortunate that I live in a home that's surrounded with, you know, a lot of flora and fauna, and that I can just sit in complete peace and enjoy it. But when I do, especially if it's sunny, I feel so much more kind of relaxed, but also energized. It's just like it's such a great pause of the chaos sometimes. You know?
I think, you know, it's important if you go to the park and bring a nice picnic blanket and take your shoes off and let your feet be on the grass and feel the sun and maybe, like, you know, hear sounds you never heard. Let yourself just focus in a really calm way and hear things you've never heard, observe things you've never seen before, and complete some thoughts that you have. You know, I think our phones actually interrupt our own therapeutic thought processes about life, to where you almost like, it's like, you know, when you're leaving a concert, how bad the car jam is exiting the parking lot from a big event, like after a concert. I feel like when we're distracted and on our phones so much, our own natural thought process about life and observations about life gets jammed like a car jam after a concert. And it just, like, you don't finish a thought, you know, you don't get to finish the thought to a new solution. It's like weird. It's like constant interruptions. And I've actually really been putting my phone down a lot. And I'm going to do more of that, because I realize I can like maybe take a couple times a day and do my emails and not constantly be looking. I'm not on like Instagram every time I have a break. I'm actually just paying more attention to my immediate environment. And I'm liking how I feel more sane.
Yeah.
I actually feel less agitated and more calm.
I kind of like it when I'm on an airplane or something where I don't have service, or I'm somewhere where you just can't be on your phone. Like it's a forced pause that for me, I'm like, I need to do this more often.
It's like a self-discipline.
Yes. Yes.
But like a real one. I think that we feel, because it's so prevalent in our culture, we feel like we have to be on that beat all the time. And I really think that that's a lie. It's not organic to optimal human functioning. It's not organic. And I think it almost feels very rebellious to own your own mental space and your own mental schedule and have some self-discipline on it. It feels really rebellious. But then you find the world does not spin off its axis, because you don't reply to the email within 5 seconds. And if someone has to wait, like, okay, you know, and if you need to fix it or apologize or, you know, but there is, I think, validity to more of that.
Yeah.
You know, a new invention is like pendulum swings and everyone does it and becomes intoxicated by it. And then we realize the condition it puts us in. And then we kind of have to start calibrating to find that happy medium. But I don't think we've all done that yet. I think everyone's still in this like frenzied, you know, connection to social media. Like, and you know, we have said and we'll say more on that. There's so many dynamics to that. But with the springtime and the transition, I'm going to be off my phone more. I'm officially stating it right now. If you can't reach me, it's because I'm not on my phone. Okay.
I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna come up with a plan. I feel like I need a plan. Like if I feel like I just say, for me, if I just say I'm gonna be on my phone less, it's not gonna happen, because I don't know how I'm gonna execute that, because I'm so intertwined with my phone, which is kind of messed up for me to say. And it's not that I'm like on social media all the time. I mean, I kind of am, but I'm not. It's you know what it is? I think there's a little bit of a people pleaser in me. So, or I just don't want to let people down. And there's also this feeling of stress and anxiety if I'm getting messages, emails or texts, and people have requests or someone needs something. And I think, well, if I just respond right now, then it's not going to pile up.
That's legit.
So I do it right away, or I'm worried I'm going to forget. But it's almost easier if I just batch it and do it later. But then it's the odd request will come in that is very time sensitive. And then I tell myself, well, thank goodness I saw that and I replied right away, because what if I wasn't near my phone, or you know, like you'll go somewhere, do something, like if you're, I don't know, in an appointment, or you go and work out and you go back to your phone an hour later or so, and then you look at your phone and there's like 20 messages. I mean, for you it's probably 60. And you're just like, oh, shoot, if I wasn't away for that time, I could have been responding, and then it would be 20 instead of 60. Or for me, it would be, you know, like I would cut it down. And I hate that. I should be able to step away, but it's hard, you know? So I don't know. Maybe we can do another episode of like an action plan, because I feel like a lot of people are probably in this situation.
Time management.
We went from spring to, but I feel like
the information age did that to us, and I don't know that we've effectively come up with a solution to maintain sanity. And I don't think we realize how much anxiety is caused by the dispersal of the information age.
Mm-hmm. I just had to say Winnie's snoring, and we're not
She's snoring
again.
You see
it's true. And there's been so many times where I've asked my mom, I'm like, how did you handle this? Like being a mom with kids and blah, blah, blah. And she always says it was a different time.
Our attention wasn't being pulled constantly to all these things while trying to do the thing we're doing at any given time. Mm-hmm. And that's where I think power is in the ability to do what you're doing while you're doing it. Mm-hmm. Not dispersing or diluting your power by trying to do 900 things at once. Mm-hmm. I mean, that'll make you insane.
Yeah.
It just feels like it violates natural law of some sort. There's got to be some axiom that aligns with. Do you know what I mean? Like some natural law about like what dispersals and, you know? Mm-hmm. I like it really...
I think too, like people would work jobs and they would come home and they would leave their work at their office or whatever. And yes, this information age has made it, and technology has made it so much easier for us to, we can work from home, and you know there's pros and cons to that.
Yeah, productivity's up
and flexibility and all that. Mm-hmm. But what happens is your mental faculties, they're segmented,
right?
You know, so it's like you're putting your kid to bed, but then your phone's vibrating because so and so needs something, or you know there's a request, and then you're not your focus of bedtime's totally out the window, right? That beautiful connection with your child is gone.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, you maybe shouldn't take your phone which sometimes I do.
We all do.
Sometimes I will put it on vibrate, and I'll put it under like my back, so that if it vibrates, then I'm like, well, she can't hear it, but then I know that something's like. But again, at that point, my attention's gone from the moment.
Okay, two things. Number one, can't you I did this thing, you know, the like do not disturb, or the alert, like when you're driving. Mm-hmm. You can customize what it says. Uh-huh. And I would say, and now they have like focus on the phones that it'll give an alert. Like you can put in focus work mode, personal, whatever. But I've never quite seen how effective. It hasn't really worked on my phone, or maybe I'm doing it wrong. Uh-huh. But I would do the driving notification. I customized it to I'm away from my phone. I'll respond when I am near my phone again. And I would turn it on. Then the person gets an acknowledgement, but they know you're not available at this time. And it was amazing what it did to calming my thought process. I knew that I wasn't going. It's like someone constantly interrupting you. You know? Yeah. And then the other thing I was going to say is, with our attention being parsed so much with the information age, with social media, texting, emails, like 24/7. It's like when you cut a pie into tiny, like so many pieces, you try to take it out of the pie container and it just breaks. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? It's not viable. Mm-hmm. And I feel like our bandwidth and our abilities, our IQ is not viable when it's diluted and parsed out so much at any given time. And if you have your phone on you so you don't miss anything while you're also trying to work, what you're doing is not going to be the best version, because it's constantly being interrupted. And it just feels like it's to find the best version of ourselves in our competence. It needs to be an uninterrupted, unparsed down, diluted version. It needs to be the best version, which means all of our bandwidth and all of our attention. Have you ever tried to talk to someone when they're on their phone? It's like a shitty conversation, right?
Oh my gosh.
It's the same thing with workflow, I think.
Or the people at dinners.
It's so rude.
That have their phone. I'm saying it because I see people do it, but also my husband used to do it until I was like, okay, we can't, because what's happening is they have their phones, but they have it where they can see if they're getting notifications. So in the corner of their eye, if their phone lights up or it vibrates, and some people have that handicap setting of the flashlight, so the flashlight goes off. So you're at dinner and you're seeing like the flashing and the lights. They're trying to have a conversation with you, but then they look down to see what is it. And I understand sometimes there's emergency situations if,
or there's like a big negotiation going on, you need to stay connected. But then you give the friends the disclaimer, like, I'm so sorry, but I have to stay connected to my phone because of whatever.
Yeah.
But if it's not that, and that's just your use, it feels very rude, and it feels not good for, like, human relations.
You just get to a point where you're like, if you're the other person with that person, you're just thinking, why are we even here? Why even do this? Like,
I don't
because
think that's
you're
a good net result.
You're not here with me. This clearly is more important. And yes, there are the odd times where, yes, it's fine. But sometimes people, they can't not do that. And that's when I have a problem with it. And they just do it every time. And yeah, you just can't be present.
I know. I won't let my kids bring their phone into restaurants. I hate it. I hate seeing kids on their phones. Like, especially teenagers when they're with their parents. Like, if they're all with their friends and that's the jam. That's what they do. And then no one's offending anyone, and okay, fine, whatever. I don't know. You're with your friends. But, like, I still think kids should enjoy each other and learn to not be on their phones. But my children have to learn how to be able to be at a meal and converse. There's an art form to conversation. And if they never learn it, they're going to have, like, social ineptitudes. That is, it's just a really bad habit. I also, like, during the week, I won't let my kids be on their phones when they wake up. They wake up and just want to sit on the couch on their phone, and I won't permit it. On the weekends, I'll let them, because I'm doing the same thing. Like, I'm sort of waking up and enjoying that time. Yes. And it is part of our culture right now. But but not for long, like for a half hour or hour or whatever. Yeah. But during the school week, no.
That's good.
No.
That's good.
I'm like, you can find other things. And then he, put his phone down and he picked up the Rubik's Cube. And then he's like in there solving problems to wake up. And then we were out swimming. It's like amazing what you will find to do if you don't inhibit that reach into your environment. And like just down on the phone. It's like
they say, "Oh, I'm bored," and it's like, well, I never had those devices growing up, and I was never bored. There's always something to do, but they're just so used to having this like little device that can access so many different things that they're like, well, anything else outside of this is boring because I can play this game or listen to this or research this, and it's just like, take that away and what you have around you that you might say what little I have around me is actually a lot.
Yeah.
And that you're fine without it. And I mean, it's just a skill that they need to just be able to function. And
it's about generating energy.
Yeah.
You have to learn, you have to, in order to work, you have to generate energy to like be productive in life and make an income. It's about generating energy, and I think the phones, the default setting is absorbing energy. You're not generating energy. And also I found my kids, when they have too much time on their devices, because on the internet things happen instantly, if your Wi-Fi is good, they'll ask me a question, and they want me to answer as fast as the internet replies to them. Because it's an education of sorts. Yeah. And so there's this natural rhythm to conversation, and being tolerant of another person's rapidity or delay in response. That's just part of human nature. And that they have like no tolerance for. And they'll be like, huh? I'm like, buddy, listen, I am not like an internet, and I am not a video game response unit.
They're like refresh. She's not answering.
I think parents don't realize that it's a form of education in a false way. It's falsely educating them by experience the wrong rhythm of life.
That's so true.
Yeah. I was like, they're like, we know you're not. I'm like, no, you're getting spicy with me because you know I'm right.
Wow. That's true. And it's like a passive source of entertainment. And then Yeah, it's so true. They want everything.
They want
instantaneous.
instant.
We need to just slow everything down a little bit. Just, they need to be bored. They need to not have everything instant. My daughter will get
And they
that.
also need to volunteer and help. I see kids that aren't part of, whether they volunteer through different local charities or if they do stuff with their church or temple or if, they're not religious, but and there's so many secular ways of volunteering and helping in your community. Kids who don't do that get this weird, entitled, self-important veil that I think is very unbecoming. And I see the kids that volunteer or do participate in enhancing anything in their community are more humble and down to earth. Because they see how other people might be struggling and they've participated in making it better.
And they're like contributing and just feeling like they have a hand in their community.
It's vital. Especially, I think, if kids are acting up, like teenagers are being troublesome. I think getting them to do volunteer work is really helpful.
I need to get on that with our daughter ASAP. I looked into some organizations that I would want to volunteer at, with her.
Kids are amazing. Give an opportunity to learn from them. Ask them. Because they maybe observe things that we miss. Like what would you like to do to help something? Is there something you've seen that you'd like to help?
Yeah.
And just talk over help with them. It's amazing what they've observed that could be better, that we don't even see.
Huh.
They're like fucking geniuses.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
They are. And they do have such unique perspectives. So sometimes picking their brains can be interesting. Worrisome, but also interesting. Yeah. I like that. That's good advice.
Yeah.
Well, we bounced around, but in the best way possible.
'Tis the season.
Yeah, right? It goes with spring. Changes, growth, learning, grounding. Ground your feet. Get outside. Get some sun. Hopefully it's spring where you are and the sun is shining.
We're sending you our best spring vibes your way.
Sunshine and rainbows.
Spring glow.
Yeah, spring glow.
Have a great one.
Take care. See you soon.